Okay, how is the audio balance? Does it sound decent, or am I a bit loud compared to the audio? I just want to check in before we actually get started here. Oh yeah, I haven't actually watched this. Okay. This should be better. Yeah. Now you cannot hear me when I just exhale through my nose, thankfully. But yeah, we are going to begin the VOD review using the replay that was sent to me. There's only one game here, but if there are more in the future that you would want me to be streamed, just let me know. Yeah. Alright. So, to my knowledge, this is a little Squid League team. Oh, this is L, not I. Okay. Yeah, so a team that competed in Little Squid League that reached out to me. So, yeah, we'll get started very soon. So I've heard that... Okay. I'm gonna see if that's a 1 instead. There we go. Alright. Tower control on Sturgeon Shipyard. Okay. So just looking at the comps here, on the side of the team that we're looking at, so Thulium, we have, I think I'm just going to refer to you as Kid. I apologize. Well, nah. Crypt Kid on Dually Squelchers, Salty on Hydra Splatling, then on Splattershot, and Flowers on Zinc Mini Splatling. So, on Tower Sturgeon, you're probably going to want your Hydra Splatling to be on the snipe area. That's their general game plan, and then to be on tower. I think, regarding this comp, I've seen Zinc Mini Splatling be used a lot in comps without backlines, and then the Zinc Mini Splatling stays on tower, because its big bubbler is able to create a lot of space on tower where it's a bit safer, especially for checkpoints. And also, I think Zinc Mini Splatling in this team composition might be a little bit passive, just because Dually Squelchers, it seems like at least in this game, they were very aggressive, but I've generally seen them not be as aggressive as something like a Tetradually, and especially with the Hydra Splatling, you don't want to have your only aggression be a splatter shot, because then if the shot goes down, then there's not that much aggression. That said, I think this comp still can find success. It just needs a bit more of an aggressive playstyle from the rest of the team to support the Hydra's positioning, which should probably be a bit more aggressive than, say, an E-Leader. Okay. So here you have the opposing team's comp as well. So that is the Junior, Pro, Vanilla Pro, interesting. Octobrush and Splattershot. So the Junior and Shot will probably be painting in order to get a bit more space for the Octobrush and Pro. Those are definitely the two weapons that are going to be taking fights that you want to watch out for. The Pro especially outranges everyone but the Hydra, so that's something that you can't really aggress alone. You just want to probably throw bombs at and slowly move out of a space by getting paint around it. So, okay. I'm going to watch... Okay, I'm watching left right now. I think right's okay with a shot and mini going there. Okay, decent pick at the start, but again, that was aggressing the pro, which might have been a little unsafe if they landed shots. I guess I usually don't recommend... Well, I think if you want left side, then there's a possibility that the Hydra could set up there. It's generally safer to be on the right for most teammates, but okay, I think that was a fine opening. I shouldn't be commenting on it. So you get one down. Oh, okay, you get one down on left. Then everyone comes over on left to support it instead of holding right side. This shot should not be here. And then Flowers just moved up a bit too far. Especially as a Zinc Mini, you don't really want to be going in without paint in front. Because you're able to get that paint very quickly. And you're able to get on tower a bit earlier than, say, your Hydra teammate is able to. You didn't really clear out left side enough for that positioning to be all that safe. Especially with sort of abandoning right, the shot was able to close in from right, and the Octobrush that could have been painted out was on left side, and so you sort of got pincered. Now all of them are on left side. I think taking tower here is a valid choice. Good punish. They were all very clustered, so... If you don't know where a brush is, by the way, Vin sort of fell captive to this. Just be aware of their range if they're sharking on a wall. That's something that they commonly like doing. Throwing a suction bomb right behind a wall so that it'll force the brush to move earlier than it wants to can be really helpful in situations like that. Okay. Actually, what happened to, I don't know what happened with, Oh, one other thing here. They're all on left side, but because they're all pretty backed up, Salty isn't... Okay. Oh wait, that was a mine pick. I think getting jumps from here is fair. Again, just the pro was on right side and was pressuring a large amount of mids. So until you find them, it's generally better to stay a bit passive and be wary of the pro's potential range, since it does outrange all of you. Okay. A few things to note here. One, the timing with the Booyah here wouldn't have helped if the Inksuka actually landed its shot. So I'd like to say that the top part of the screen has where each individual has a special. As a Hydra, you're not going to be that far into the action, so just recognizing when the opponent has a Crab or Triple Ink Strike or Missiles or Inksuka can be really helpful to just see when you might be pressured in a way that's a bit more powerful than just like someone aggressing you from the front. Because the last thing you want is to be try-so-good when you have your Booyah Bomb. Okay. Decent positioning, good pairing on the Octobrush to splat it when it was aggressing the Hydra. I think this was probably due to calling it out. So, and I think one of you was coming from spawn, so that definitely helped. Okay, right now they're 2 down. I think then you don't need to be on tower right now. You could be pressuring further up on left. Yeah, because now the pro's able to get on snipe, but they might have had a much harder time doing that if you were on left just pressuring a bit more with, say, Crisp Kid, while Flowers took tower. I think I understand, like, from solo queue, it's common that no other teammates will be taking tower, but especially as a Slayer, you can trust that your support or anchor weapon, so here, Flowers or Salty, will be getting tower. So... And again, right here, it's sort of like you don't have any space in front of tower, and so it's a lot less safe to exist around it. That's sort of why Vin went down to his slap bomb. I do think that them initially going down, or like, they initially tried dropping on right side to aggress further up, but I think backing up there was okay. You don't want to drop there without paint, is the main thing. But it is important to get that space in front of tower. I think it's just that, okay, y'all are close to check, and, okay. I like that Chris Kid went for the rest of checkpoint here, but generally, as a splatter shot on tower Sturgeon, you want to be taking their snipe, or making sure that no one's there. Not exactly, holding that area, unless you have Trizuka, but at the very least getting new space, because in this comp, yes, it is very... the rest of your comp's pretty passive, so if the shot goes down, then you can't really push forward that much. At the same time, you really need that forward momentum, and the shot is the main instigator of that in this comp. The shot and the dually sculptures. I like the mist. I really like that splat bomb from Chris Kid. Okay, this positioning from Ben is really good, trying to take snipe as soon as possible. How did... Okay, just died to a bomb. Okay. So, I think after Crisp died to a bomb, it created a bit of panic. I'm not sure if... Okay, I'm going to rewatch this from a couple of different angles, because that seemed like it was setting up to be something good. So we're going to watch it from here. Okay, so you see the pro. The pro outranges you here. If they're on snipe, then they can see you and outrange you here. Okay. They didn't know you were here initially. They know exactly where you are as soon as you start shooting. So I think even though you were able to get trade here, the brush would have known you were there a lot later if you started shooting just a bit later. So I guess when doing a flank, it's very important that the opponent doesn't know where you are. That's what sort of separates a flank from just coming in at a different angle. So that's also why it's good to try to flank as soon as the rest of your team is holding forward on the opponent. So then they're having to deal with the front, and then they get panicked because there's someone behind them. But that panic doesn't happen if they know that you're behind them already. So I think that was a decent trade for what it was. Let's see why it didn't quite pan out on the other side. So here, Hydra's respawning. Okay, that was just awareness of a bomb. Yeah, not much to say about that, just unfortunate. Okay. Okay, right now you're extremely weak. You're weak and you're marked. Yeah, weak and marked, and then sort of I think the like being on right side here isn't that recommended. Painting it for special is pretty nice, but the main problem with it is, as you saw, the only real way out is closer to mid. And if they have mid, then they can just sort of wait until you try to exit and then punish you for that. I think backing up on right side, like closer to your snipe, might have been a bit better. Sort of where you come out from spawn on right side to mid. I hope you understand what I'm meaning by that. But I think that would be a bit more effective on this map just because you don't really have a way out. Having the escape route painted is really important as a support weapon. Not just for yourself, but painting the escape route for a teammate can be really helpful too. The dualies go in the same area. Okay, right here, you sort of abandon flowers by trying to go back a bit more. I think it would have been okay to like. Okay. Okay. You're in mid while Flowers is on the far right. I think maybe being a bit further right to help Flowers might have been the play, but okay, at this point, you're last alive. I don't know what this Waybreaker is going to be doing, but it won't be much. The main strength of Waybreaker is it helps not only yourself, but your teammates push forward, because all of the enemy has to jump over it, and that can help in fights. But in general, using specials when you're last alive is almost never recommended. Just because your teammates can't make use of the space that your specials create. So yeah. Also, just some minor notes. You put the Waybreaker on the path of the tower, and when it passes through it, yeah, when the Waybreaker, or when the tower passes through it, then the Waybreaker just disappears. It's sort of like tactical because of that. But yeah, like here, you still have to back up to left side, and the Waybreaker, now you have to recharge it from scratch. That's fair. I think special timing is really important for. It's honestly one of the most important things in this game. um, because like they're the thing that sort of differentiates your normal weapon, and they also give a free ink tank refill. So I think backing up here is the correct play. However, I don't know if being on snipe is the best idea, just because Salty's already there. And so, because there's a Hydra here, if the opponent doesn't move out of the Hydra's range, then they're dead to the Hydra. If they do move out of the Hydra's range, then they're definitely out of your range as a Squelcher as well. So I think... Okay, I think this positioning is much better. Okay, I think the flank with Ven here is pretty good, just because Salty was initially watching right side, and so that gives Ven a sort of defense. And then they're able to go in and get another trade with that. They got the Octobrush earlier with Salty, so I think that was good. And then Crisp Kid goes up with that, so good. I'm noticing your team really likes going to snipe. I think Flowers especially, there's a lot of unpainted area on right side that I think you could slowly be getting. Just because if you push tower like where first checkpoint is, having a way to back up is pretty useful. That might be a part of why everyone's going like far right, because that's not actually painted. And so, yeah. Flowers dropping here. You don't have your splatter shot with you right now. And so your aggression is limited. Just make sure that if you're going to be pushing up, then you have like make sure that you're not pushing up into a group alone. Make sure you're doing it with a special, which the Bio Bomb is coming out. So I think Bio Bomb Bubbler here is pretty good for creating space. You just want to make sure that like your Slayer can use it as well. Oh no. Okay. Crisp Kid is behind tower while Ven is pushing up on left side. I think that Crisp Kid maybe going up onto their snipe might be very helpful here, just because they could have an overlook of the most of the map, and they could have seen the Octobrush dropping from left side. What else? So I think Ven going on left was I think getting control on left is very important. So I like that you went that direction. You were able to get a pick from it on the junior as well. I think it's mostly just Krispke being a bit more forward when their splatter shot is alive with them. This is a 2 versus 3. Salty, you are the furthest person up on tower. They are going to be rushing you. How did you? Wow. Oh no, you're okay. No worries. Yeah, so I think one thing as far as awareness goes, Salty, is just make sure that if if you're the furthest person up as the tower rider, first, if your teammates are alive, yell at them to go in front of tower and make space. Bread with no flour, I forget which weapon you are. But I do agree that like it seems like the thing that I'm seeing right now is that one person decides to go forward with no one else. Yeah, I've heard from another person that the Zinc Mini isn't here right now, but I'll be uploading a VOD of this as well, so that you can refer to it later. Okay, so I think I'm seeing you go on left a lot, trying to flank. I think the main thing is just when one of you chooses to go up, no one else really does, and they sort of stay back. So say when the mini was on right, I'll actually play something for that. Okay. So here you're 3v3. Flowers, you're pushing tower, but no one's riding it right here. Crisp Kid, you're pushing up left side, but there's no one still riding tower for it. I think you're sort of waiting for Salty, but they're stuck in a Booyah Bomb. And if you want to push up together, you want to wait for the Booyah Bomb to make space initially, and then push up with that. Because I think because Salty's in such a far back position with the Booyah Bomb, hey Corky, thank you. But yeah, so I think that the Booyah Bomb is really far back here. It's just barely able to hit the like in front of their spinner. I think that if you could hit it right in their court, sort of where the sponge is, then it would have much more of an impact. But you're sort of not forward enough for that. And one good thing to have as well is if you're going to pop Booyah Bomb, make sure that I'd say best case scenario Flowers is riding tower. So that you can get on afterwards while Flowers maybe pops a bubble on tower and then pushes up with that. This bubble is pretty good, but again, no one's really here in front of you to help with that because Vin is respawning. So right now it's Flowers being aggressive. Crisp Kid sort of moved back into mid, and so don't really have a designated objective player, so it's something that kind of comes up on the fly. Try to stay away from it. Uh, okay, so on Rainmaker or Tower Control, I feel like it's often the backliner that takes Tower or Rainmaker, just because their weapon is relatively slow compared to, say, a splatter shot. Its weight class is higher. It takes more time for you to charge a thing than it does a mini splatling, and so by taking tower, you're able to have the most range and the most pressure out of anyone in your comp while riding tower, and everyone else can push up a bit more quickly. Doesn't have we usually only have a designated objective pusher when it's okay. Hmm. So right here, it's still the I guess I'm going to talk through the rest of the situation and then think a bit more about like the theory of who should be doing objective in this comp, if that's fine. Um. Okay, so right here we have Ven going up while Flowers was trying to back up. So Flowers was initially alone, and then the pressure from the opponents all on Flowers made them want to back up. I think they went down to a bomb here. But as they were backing up, Ven starts going up. Then, because Ven is alone, they get pincered by the Octobrush and Splattershot Pro. And it's sort of like now the only thing that's up front is the tower that's just got there. But Cryptkid is still in mid, and Salty's if the Hydra is further up than you, then generally that means either you're respawning or you're a bit too passive or the um backline is a bit too aggro. And I think that initially this was just a case of each person on the team was going up alone, and at different times, I think is the main thing. So being able to time, like, I'm throwing Bia Bomb, everyone push up while I take tower could be a good call. Let's see. So backing up here is good. Okay. So I guess the theory of this comp. So best case scenario, everyone is doing some sort of thing that will be helping to make the objective as safe as possible. So I guess what I mean by that is um, whatever you're doing in the game, it should be with the end goal of pushing objective and making that a bit safer. So with a splatter shot, you probably want to be in front of objective, be it zone or the Rainmaker, to make paint control and make sure no opponents will be trying to pressure that area. Um, I think a similar idea goes with a Squelchers, where you want to be doing that at a bit further of a range than Splattershot, but your eventual goal is to pressure opponents out of areas that you want. Um, I think Squelchers sitting on the opponent's snipe on Tower Sturgeon would be really good as well. Uh, Aside from that, the mini Splatling is able to get paint really quickly, so it's able to pair up really well with the Splatter Shot and Dually Squelchers, and makes them able to sort of be in areas that they otherwise wouldn't be able to, with its Bubbler, with Toxic Mist, discouraging areas. And the Hydra Splatling's pretty much just sitting on objective, doing as much as possible to sort of if the opponent just tries to go in with their weapons and not with any special, then the Hydra is able to delete them, and that is a very valuable thing. Um, so as far as who should be riding objective, on Rainmaker, I think the Hydra holding the Rainmaker will probably be best, just because if you have the Squelchers holding it, then you have a shot with a Mini and Hydra. In other words, a splatter shot with two very passive weapons. And if shot is paired with some like only passive weapons, then it's not really able to do as much aggressively as it wants to. And so that limits the amount of space you're able to make in front of the Rainmaker. If the splatter shot tanks Rainmaker, it's the same idea, where everyone else is sort of going to be in a... Their weapon isn't best when played passively, or when played aggressively, like overly so. They can't hold forward as much as a sploosh or a splatter shot, and so you don't want the shot to take Rainmaker, because then you can't make as much space in front of Rainmaker, and so then it's not as useful. The Mini or the Hydra taking Rainmaker, either can work. The main problem is the Rainmaker is so fast. It can move as fast as someone swims. So if the Mini takes Rainmaker, then the Mini can swim, or the Rainmaker can, faster than the Hydra can move up and create space. And by the time it's there, then the Rainmaker's sort of already past it, or past where the Hydra will be effective. And so I think having a sort of Hydra should be best case scenario taking Rainmaker. Second best case is the Mini taking it. I think a similar thing goes with so I think that's sort of the theory behind Rainmaker. It's definitely something you avoid. Okay, so aim with Rainmaker is okay. I just want to check something really quickly. How do I... Okay, that's how you pause, I guess. Wait. Okay. I'm still sort of learning the UI of the spectating screens, so just started learning Splattershot from Bloblobber. Okay, Blob taking Rainmaker is a lot different than Splattershot taking Rainmaker. I think that's very valid. Most on our mini main Splash most of the time, so the mini was a relatively new thing. I think Splash holding Rainmaker, yeah, it's sort of eh. It can if it needs to, but you really want the crab. So, yeah, Rainmaker is a learning curve, but I do think that it's pretty valuable to have as far as... Yeah, I think the Hydra holding Rainmaker is just valuable to have, like, everyone else aggressively taking space, while the Hydra's slowly behind it. Flex a bit, there was definitely clunkiness. Okay. I think, yeah, Rainmaker seems a bit similar to Tristringer in that it's... or Tristringer or X-Blosher, where it's, able to create traps that explode after a bit of time. It has the range of a backline, but you essentially want to get it as far as possible. And I think because it has a similar range to most backline weapons, it's not that much of a change to your comp's ability to press forward if the Hydra takes Rainmaker. But it's not an aggressive weapon because it takes so much time to charge. Like about the time that a charger shot takes. And so, yeah. Clunkiness and figuring out how to play with different comps. So Flowers uses Dually, Sloshing Machine, Splash, a few other things, and Mini. So I think the first few that you mentioned, Dually, Sloshing Machine, and Splash, are very aggressive. Mini is relatively passive, so playing with that is a lot different. Be using Splash Shot and blah blah blah. I think in this comp specifically, or like in this group of 4, you have a Hydra, you have a Dually Squelchers. You really want as much aggression as you can get with these weapons, because Hydra Splatling wants people in front of it to create space, while it sort of has an area of effect that its teammates can hide behind and be a bit passive with that. Dually Squelchers sort of takes aggression away from teammates and onto it. It's able to do this because it's dodge rolls, and things like the jump tech can make it very unpredictable with its positioning, and that combined with its range lets it stay alive in a lot more situations. So you have 2 weapons that are able to stay alive pretty well. And if the important thing with Squelchers is they take aggression away from other teammates, and so teammates can use that to push in while they're focused on the Squelcher and then punish them for that. So Mini is a bit slow as far as being able to capitalize on the Hydra's range or the Squelcher's sort of its how do I describe, like what I just described. Mini can work here, but it's going to be a bit passive and putting a lot of pressure on the Squelchers and the whatever the 4th weapon is to create aggressive space. So I think that on Sturgeon Shipyard on tower control, Sloshing Machine is one of the best things I have ever played. So I might recommend that with this. If you really want a bubble, then maybe Junior, but I think that has a similar role to Mini, so I think Mini is okay here, if I were to say anything Sloshing Machine, but you really want as much aggression as you can with the Hydra and Squelchers, so a Bloblobber with those doesn't feel that recommend. Like, I would not recommend that. What else? So, I guess that was sort of me speaking about Rainmaker. Tower control is sort of similar, but the tower's a lot slower to push up. So, having the Hydra hold tower is pretty good generally because they don't have to set up again in order to get a full charge on another position. The Mini, relatively speaking, can do that much faster. So, I think that Hydra being on tower is probably the best thing for this comp. Second best would be Mini. Squelchers are going to be dodge rolling so much that in practice, it won't be on tower that much because it wants to stay alive by using its mobility. And Spotter Shot, best case scenario, it's in front of tower making space. So making space with with its teammates, so the Squelchers, the Mini, yeah, so I think if tower's a little unsafe to ride, then the Mini being there is good. If it's safe to ride, then the Hydra being there is good, so that the Mini can create a lot of paint quickly in front of tower. Yeah, but that's, I guess, a theory of the modes with this comp. Yeah. I'm still going to watch the rest of this because we've seen sort of a lot of how you all aggress, but I want to see how you defend as well. If tower is being pushed, should you be in front of tower? I would say yes, generally. The thing with tower is you don't want it, well, I guess the best tower push is when the tower rider is as safe as possible. That is, no opponents are able to come even close to tower. So I think that your weapon pushing up in front of tower is really good. Because if you don't, then you get situations like earlier in the match where let's see. Like this situation where you're in front of tower on left, but then you sort of back up away from pressuring snipe, while Flowers is alone on right. And here you're backing up a large amount. Like this is giving the opponent so much free space. Which you see the juniors soon going in on left to try to take. Then eventually gets there, and you rotate to right, but that was a lot of time where you were sort of just chilling in mid. And you're still sort of just chilling in mid when Flowers is up front on right side alone, and Vin is on left side pushing up alone. I think that Squelchers shouldn't be the furthest person up. That's not where it does best, because its range helps it outrange things like a Splash-O-Matic, or in this case, a Splatter Shot, or Octobrush. The thing you want to be doing is moving up with your teammates, because like I said before, Squelchers has a lot of movement with being able to dodge roll, to jump out of its dodge roll. That's called the jump tech. If you haven't heard of it, then I would suggest Google searching it. I can give you a few more resources if you would like. But there are a lot of ways to move as Squelchers, especially with like Squid Roll now, that make you able to stay alive when normally it would be a bit too unsafe. So you want to use that to be able to get the opponent's attention, like making the Octobrush look at you, and then while they're looking at you, Vin can move up, not being spotted, and catch them off guard to pick them off. You could do a similar thing with the with Mini, but I think with Mini it would be like they're painting around you so that you can have the maximum amount of mobility, while you're sort of creating range pressure so that it's safer for the Mini to paint forward. You really want to get space in front of tower with your teammates so that Salty can have the safest tower ride of the century. So I think the main thing here is Flowers was alone on right for a long time, didn't really get any support, and they died to a bomb. When Ben finally came out on left to support, it was from respawn, so it was a bit too late. So I think there was it was a lot of timing. I think either you were able to start a push a bit later so that Vin and Flowers were able to push up with Crisp all at the same time. Or Crip, not Crisp. My apologies. So if all of you were able to push up at the same time, a bit later, generally pushing when everyone is alive is the best case, but if you're able to get two people splatted while only one of your teammates goes down, that can still be a good opportunity, like it was earlier. The main thing you don't want is if you have a 3v2 advantage like that, something like this situation where, I'm so sorry I'm picking on you a lot, but Crip sort of stayed in mid, Salty was backed up with a Booyah Bomb, and so even though you had 3 alive against 2, Flowers was in a 1v2, and that situational advantage with like who is up front and who is not, that can mean that a push like this, which started really well in mid, if no one's pushing forward in front of tower, then the tower won't get past mid really. Another thing to note here is that with Salty being on tower on right like this, they're creating a lot of space, about as much space as a Waybreaker, in front of tower, so that if anyone's in front of it or tries to get in that range, they're likely going to be deleted if Salty sees them. So that makes it a bit safer to be in front of tower like this, because Crip, you could probably dodge roll back to the tower if you really feel unsafe. And then if they still try to aggress you, then there's a Hydra looking at them. So yeah, I think one good thing to practice for especially Crip and Ven would be in ranked or open to try to make space in front of tower or Rainmaker, if either of those modes are up, and just keep trying to do that. Even if you die on the push, it's just good practice. And generally, as time goes on, you'll figure out, okay, I died there because I didn't have pain around me. I died there because I went in without teammates, stuff like that. And slowly you get a sense of how to be in front of the objective to make its push a bit safer. I guess the sort of like antithesis of that would be if everyone was on tower. Because if everyone's on it, not only are you clustered up so the opponent can do something like throw a bomb, but no one's really in front of tower pushing up, so they can sort of just encircle around it. And there's a lot less safe space for the tower to push up. So I guess that's sort of that point. I'll go through the rest of this match. So you back up. I still don't know how you got that pick, but really nice work. So Salty's a mid. I like that you're pressuring top. Right here, Vin's going on left side a bit more. I think that's because Salty's there with them. The thing is, Crip could also be on left. They were just in mid. So going on right side here is, it makes this 3v2 into a 2v2, and one of them is very visible, the Hydra spotling. So it sort of makes Vin going up a bit more of a risk. Let's see how it pans out. Yeah, it's too risky to be there alone, so I like that Vin backed up. No one's really pressured snipe. Flowers just make sure that, like, in general, because Mini has to charge before it shoots, like, if this was a machine, I could see you being there. If it was a shot or a dually, I could see you being here. Mini has time before it can shoot. It's sort of like I'd say position with it about how you would a junior. It's very supportive, a lot of paint. It likes being in flat areas because it can just sort of move around and get a lot of paint without much commitment. But being on this wall, you're practically committing to, I'm going to jump back to mid, or I'm going to climb up here. And the brush is sort of just overlooking you, so either decision is sort of unsafe. And yeah, that's going to happen. If it was a shot being there, then it was a bit more of like a, can you aim fast enough for the brush to not pick you off? I think throwing bombs up there, or like throwing a mist without actually going up there, is a valid strategy. If it's too unsafe to be in like an elevated position, you don't want to climb up just because like when you get there, it's probably going to be painted in the opponent's color, and so you won't really have anywhere to move to the sides. And that can be really crippling because the opponent can move, you can't. So their position is not quite known. Like, they can mix up their movement, but you're sort of stuck where exactly you climbed up from the wall. So situations like this are a bit unsafe without like bombs or mist in front of, or like a Hydra being in mid that pressures it. Pushing tower without any hi. Any sort of advice on? Okay, improving communication and pushes. Going out open. Okay, so how to make communication the most it can be. Um, I'll answer that sort of as we get to positions like that. So a lot of them are just going to be pushing up here. So this is a 2v4. I think Crypt just moving back to like your snipe would be a bit safer than moving to mid because left side then went down. And so left is not safe because Ven went down there. Probably called out, I'm dead on left. Or something like that. So I think that was still, they did that pretty quickly. So, I think dying there isn't something to like write home about. But it's just something to note that like moving back closer to your spawn is generally safer than moving perpendicular to your spawn. I want to know when you use that Booyah Bomb. Okay. When you're 2 down, you still don't have Booyah Bomb yet. You get Booyah Bomb when you're last alive. You pop it when no one's alive. Let's see. So, locating opponents and numbers advantage. Oh, okay. So, when it comes to what your plans are or what you're... Okay, so if someone's on you, like, how exactly to call out you need help. Okay, so I think one big thing with executing plays is specials and moving in with them. Generally specials are the thing that separates like moving up as aggressive and moving up as like specials make moving up a lot safer because things like Booyah Bomb or Crab Tank, they create a lot of space in an area. Crab Tank, it's around the user. Booyah Bomb, it's around the area you throw the bomb in. Big Bubbler, it's around wherever the bubble is. Trizuka sort of does this by like if the opponent stays in the same area, then they're going to be hit by the Trizuka. So it sort of forces them to move away from the Trizuka user because of the pressure of death. I think it's a bit hard to talk about communication in something like this where there's no VC. I can give a few pointers on it or things that have helped me. But I think in order to go more in depth with that, I'd really have to be in like a VC while all of you are scrimming, and then comment on your gameplay as that happens. Until then, let's talk a bit more about this Booyah Bomb. So, a lot of specials are really good for getting out of like the opponent's push. They have 3 specials right now. The Junior has Bubbler, the Octobrush has Zipcaster, and the Pro has Crab. All of these are very much like using them in tandem. They are going to get a push out of this. They got a near wipe, and the Hydra's probably going to be pushing back or like holding backwards. And so the Hydra pops Booyah Bomb when they're last alive. So with this Booyah Bomb, the Junior gets off of tower for about 1 second and a half, and then gets right back on it. And then the Hydra goes down. So a couple things with this. One, when you use Booyah Bomb, your position is very noticeable. As a Hydra, this usually doesn't change how you play that much. With the machine, this is a bit more noticeable. But in a situation like this, where they are pushing up very quickly, to use Bee Bomb like this, it means that you have a lot less time to back up away from them, especially if you don't throw it at yourself. But I think another thing is, you notice that a lot of your team was down, and so you can't really push in with a Bee Bomb. None of your teammates can. As Hydra, I think that Bee Bomb will be used largely so your teammates can be aggressive with it, because you're not going to have anything to immediately pressure with it. You have to charge, but it does let your teammates move in very quickly with it. And I think holding it until your teammates are alive and ready to push wherever you throw the Bee Bomb, that's a very crucial thing when playing a Bee Bomb weapon. On tower control specifically, if you throw Bee Bomb and it's not, well, your timing of Bee Bomb is so important when the opponent is pushing, because it is one of the few specials that is guaranteed to get them off of tower. If you throw it at the tower, then they're either having to get off for a few seconds or get splatted. And because of this, it can be really helpful to get them off of tower while your teammates are pushing around tower to sort of make the most of it. But they can't really push around wherever you throw the Bee Bomb if they're all down. So okay, panic use when you're alone, you don't know where the opponents are. If you don't know where the opponents are, back up generally, or like if you don't know where they are and everything around you is painted, one, that means there are no teammates in front of you, and so your position is probably unsafe as a Hydra. And then also, having Bee Bomb to throw in an area where you know they are means that they're having to, or Bee Bomb is good to throw where you know opponents are or you know where they are going. So if they're like being pressured away from you by the Squelcher's wave breaker, if you throw the Bee Bomb behind them, then they have to either deal with the teammates that are rushing forward or the Bee Bomb behind them. And so that can be a good play. But if you throw it where you don't know where they are, there's a potential where you can throw it where no one is, and it doesn't actually affect their push that much. So, I think also if you don't know where opponents are, it could be a factor of callouts. Just keeping tabs on like where everyone is, or like at least most of the team. So like if someone said Junior got me right side, I think I can see why you would throw Bee Bomb at right. But especially when they have this much space created, like all of mid is painted. Bee Bomb probably won't help that much because they can just move to another side of mid that they also have control of, paint over the Bee Bomb, and then continue the push like nothing happened. Ooh, one other thing. As far as pushing as a team, or like making plays, one special can help a lot with pushing back in. Multiple specials at once or used in close timing with each other can do even more to get opponents out of an area. So like with this comp, if you have a bubbler on tower, then a wave breaker up front, then it creates a huge amount of space in front of tower while making sure that the tower is safe. If you have a Trizuka at first and then a Booyah Bomb, then the Trizuka might be able to splat someone, then the Booyah Bomb is able to clear out the rest that are alive, while the shot has no more Trizuka, so they push up with that. If you have something like the Trizuka and Wavebreaker, the Wavebreaker sort of shows where the opponent is or forces them to move, then the Trizuka makes them, either punishes them for moving predictably, or forces them even further back away from the team while they create new space. There are a lot of sort of synergies with specials like this. Generally using like 3 or 4 specials is very common in a push. So we'll likely see on the opponent's side something like a crab and a bubbler with a zipcaster. It can really be important to overwhelm the opponent with specials and pushing in as your own weapon. Okay, tower's not that great right now, so I'm going to switch to someone that might be. Yep. Oh wait, this is still. Okay. One big thing to note though is using special in a panic generally doesn't work that well. Just because you're probably not using it in time with everyone else on your team, and it's going to be limited in how much your team can capitalize on it. Because if you don't know when you're using it, then neither do your teammates. So right now you have the mini with you on right side. Okay, I think trying to move behind them. As a splatter shot, you slightly outrange Octobrush. So I think staying in the position where you were, or like a bit left, might have been okay. The main thing. Right there, when dropping down, you saw not just the brush, but there was someone in the ink. And if you didn't see them initially, you see the single shooter. So not only is there a brush here that you're looking at, there's also something that throws an angle shooter. So this is a Spotter Shot Pro. As soon as your mini goes down here, this is a 1v2. I think your mini going down was just unfortunate. But also make sure that as a mini, you're not dropping until you have until you have paint in front of you, and make sure like the opponent won't be rushing in. Yeah, just paint before you drop is a huge thing. Even more for like many and other midline weapons than like frontliners. That said, even frontliners, yeah, you kind of need to paint before you drop. Yeah. I think using special without noticing it is... It's sort of just a habit. Like, you see the special gauge rise and just... Especially when pushing, it just so happens that using it as soon as you get it can be good. It just depends on the situation, but there are a lot of times when holding special for your teammates to make use of it, it can be really helpful. Okay, so we're seeing the brush went down with the trade with this. The pro is creating space with the crab. You drop down from that area when there's a crab and... Wait, actually... Issue of getting pressured and not sure how to go against it. Yeah, so... Let's see. Bread with no flour. Pressured as in a 3v1. If it's a 3v1, do not go forward. Throw a bomb and paint, but do not go forward. Go sideways or go back if they are like pushing up. At the very least, do not drop, because even if you get a little bit of paint in front of you, there are 3 people there and there is one of you. They will outpaint you so hard. And then they'll probably pick you off. But one important thing to note is when you die in disadvantage, you don't only lose your positioning, but you lose your special gauge as well. And you lose like 7 seconds of like being able to paint. And this can create a snowball effect where you sort of go in, you go down, the opponent paints and gets special. You don't have special when you respawn. And so then they have special, you don't, and it's even harder to push back in. Right here. You see the hydras right here. or the crab, sorry. It has the range of a Hydra. You drop here. And you also didn't quite see that court, like, the area where the second checkpoint is, I usually call that court. You didn't quite see if that area was clear or if anyone was sharking there. The splatter shot was sharking there, as you can see very clearly here. I think this was just panic trying to get in as soon as possible when they were pushing in. The problem with that is, one, you lose via bomb charge. If you jumped out earlier, then so it was taking up a lot of space and wanted to get rid of it as soon as possible. I think that's fair, but doing so as, like, you want to make use of your range as Hydra. If you don't, then weapons like Sploosh or Dapple have the DPS, a similar DPS to the Hydra full charge. But they're much less range, of course, so that's what makes Hydra so valuable. Being able to shred it, you also need like the full charge. Because if you didn't know, Hydra when it's fully charged has a bit more damage than like if you have 1.5 of a charge. So we'll just replay this a little bit. So right here is a pretty decent place to just start charging up. Or if you see on far left, like the far left of the screen, a bit below the like blinking pink icon on the top left, there's the white box. And behind that can be pretty safe to sit behind. And so I think those areas, like any area with cover or any area that's like above the opponent is pretty good for the Hydra to set up. This is why like snipe is really good. And disadvantage, you don't want to drop down if you don't have to, or especially if you don't have teammates in front of you. I think I don't know if I like Crypt flanking here, just because there's like absolutely no pressure up front with the Hydra, and so you want to be playing together. I think by Crypt going on far right now, it means that no one's in front of the Hydra, so the crab can sort of like focus it. The splatter shot can move up for free, as we see it do. Like if the Squelchers was moving on left with you, then it could punish the splatter shot for this. It couldn't quite punish the crab. Like this drop was still a bit unsafe, like extremely so, even if you had the Squelchers here. But I think that it would have at least like made it so that there was a bit more space, and then the Squelchers could sort of be a bit safer moving in with the Hydra behind it, creating a lot of DPS. Okay, this is a good example of like special coordination. So you see the crab, as soon as it goes, like as soon as it finishes, it's created a lot of space so the shot can move forward. And now the shot uses Trizuka so the pro can move forward. Or at the very least, like hold a position. Or well, so it's, I think that's the Octobrush moving forward. Okay, we're watching this a bit more. Okay, you go down here, you're halfway to Inksuka. You're alive here with about a third of Inksuka. There's a lot of pain and spawn. At this point in their push, I would probably be like painting up, well, I think holding paint and spawn for Bio Bomb at the end of the game can be a good strategy. So maybe not spawn. But there is still a crab here. There is still a teammate here. The Hydra probably said something like, Splattershot got me on left with the crab. Or like, I know some people call the area where the crab is perch. So Splattershot got me our perch. After that call out, you would know there are two people there, one of which is a crab tank. Even before the Trizuka is popped, dropping down here is sort of... I think being on, like, that street, like, if you backed up right now, I think being there is okay. You just don't want to be outranged by the pro. So it's a little unsafe. But I think just throwing bombs and getting a lot of paint safely is very important for getting your special. And using your special when all of your team is alive and with you is one of the best ways to get out of disadvantage. Because right now, you're going in with your teammates all down. Just respawning. You don't have paint around you because you didn't paint up, like, before moving in. That's another thing that charging special helps you do. It just so happens that when you charge special, you paint in front of you so that it's a bit safer to move up. And so right here, you're a bit cornered because you kept moving forward on the left side to try to deal with the Zuka. But in reality, they already had, like, the control of this area, and so, yeah. I like the positioning of the Mini here, just staying back and trying to help the Hydra with, like, anyone who might be pressuring them from below. I think that it was just a bit too late because you respawned a bit late. Because the brush was already there. Crip rolled into opponent ink, dropping into it. And I honestly don't know how the hell it worked. But generally, yeah, don't drop down without paint unless, like, the only situation I would say it's okay is if they're about to get KO, but you still want a bit of paint in front of you so that, like, you can move a bit faster. Good pick on the jump. Right now, instead of holding a charge, I think the Hydra should be getting on tower as fast as possible, while everyone else is just taking mid control. I see a lot of you are trying to be on tower right now, but tower doesn't really matter that much as it is. Hold on. Okay. So as it is, like, the tower's going to be moving back automatically, even if you're not riding it. Like, if no one has tower, then it slowly moves back to the middle of the stage. So it's very important to just... It's sort of like the Rainmaker resetting the mid. You really want to be pushing up into mid and getting paint as soon as possible, because you got a team wipe on them. They are trying to swim back into mid as soon as possible. So if they swim back and there's mid that's all painted their color, they can swim in that and shark waiting for you. But if you're already up front painting around it, then it means they have to be on their side while you have control of mid. It's just a thing that makes it so that neutral is a bit faster to get into. I like Crypt going up front here, getting a bit more paint. Best case scenario, Vin and Flowers are also doing this, while Salty's on tower. Because you've got a team wipe on them, you're going to have more specials, so you're probably going to be starting a push soon. Especially with this Waybreaker. I think this Waybreaker being here, it's a bit early because you don't know where enemies are. Crypt, Ven, Flowers, none of you are taking fights right now, so I don't think that the Waybreaker is really helpful, because you're not taking fights, you're taking paint. Paint, specifically, you're taking paint where no one is going to be, and so you don't really need the Waybreaker to help you do that. You see them on left, he's popping Zuka, not really able to find any picks. I think the main thing here is they're just playing really safe. And so I think just, yeah. So the Booyah Bomb comes out. You're able to get a pick. That, I think that was good positioning. You were still with then, and then you punish a shot for moving forward. So you still haven't gotten control of their snipe, and the tower is going to be moving past it soon. Got scared to let go of tower after that push, so forgot about the other things. I think one main thing to take in mind is if the opponent is all splatted, none of them can really take tower. As like once you've dealt with all the super jumps, if they're super jumping the tower, deal with that, of course. But yeah. So yeah, I think I've spoken a bit enough on that. I like that Crip is going up front here. I see Flowers was trying to stay in squid form on tower. One, when you're doing that, you don't really have a charge. And so if someone like the Octobrush rushes to tower to try to spot you, you're not going to have a charge to really contest them. I can see that you were waiting for a good time to bubble, but you really want to have a charge in case someone that you don't expect is going to be pressuring you. Yeah, so I think that's why partly why you went down there. I think it's also like you don't have control of snipe, you're just getting control there. While then just drop down on right to get it. And so because the tower is sort of moving where it's not that safe, it's a lot more likely that you're going to just be rushed. I think the bubble placement, the main thing is it was used out of panic because of the Octobrush being here, but it's a bit early. Having it for checkpoint is so valuable on this map. But I think if you had it like there at like a little earlier, it could have worked as well because Minnie can get another bubble pretty quickly. And like right here, Vin's still able to use the bubble pretty effectively. One of the problems is not only do you not have left side, but you don't have top right either. And so even though no one's on top right now, you can't guarantee that. And so there's a lot more questions of where the opponent will be. And one of the best ways to answer that is to just paint in front and like throw bombs in front. So then either the opponent has to move away from that area or they have to start contesting you, which reveals their position. I hope all of that makes sense. Yeah, so like without the bubble, that would have been a much harder fight for Ven. So I think the bubble itself, like that bubble on tower was pretty good. The main thing is just if you're going to use bubble, you don't need to like shark on tower until you use it. Because if you're on tower, then the tower's going to be moving. And so the opponent's going to see they took the tower and it's going to start moving and be the opponent's team's color, so your color. They might not know exactly which weapon is on it, but they know someone is on tower. And if you know someone is somewhere, you're going to shoot at the somewhere. So they're going to be shooting at tower, not knowing exactly who's there, and they just so happen to pick the mini. So I think like if you're already going to be riding tower, it's not that much of a loss. It's not really a loss at all to like reveal your position to hold a charge and paint in front of tower. Because they know someone's on tower anyways. So like being able to get paint around you as the tower is moving forward is very valuable. So yeah. Right here, we're seeing the fact that no one's really on top right. The junior is trying to go that way. I think this super jump, you could have jumped to Salty. It's a bit safer. Jumping to Tower is a bit aggressive just because Tower's going to be in front of Salty right now. Ooh, that bubble. Crip is on left, just now moving forward. Wow. I think the main thing here is just well, I guess one, it's impressive that V, Flowers, and Salty were able to get up front on the right side. I think in this position, yeah, there's not that much that Hydra can do. But because of that, it's pretty helpful to have the Hydra just holding Tower while everyone else is pushed in front of Tower. Because if Flowers is on Tower and 2 people are pushed up, then you have 2 people in front while Salty is in the back, not really able to do all that much. If Salty's on Tower, then even if they're not doing much, they're like moving around on Tower while like getting a checkpoint, while everyone else is able to push up, and that's one more person you have pushing in front of Tower. I hope that makes sense. I hope that sort of gives a bit more reasoning as to why it's generally pretty good for a Hydra to ride Tower in a push. Probably more so than Flowers in a lot of cases. Like if Flowers pops Bubble on Tower and then pushes up with the Splatter Shot or the Squelchers, then it can do a lot to be aggressive. One big thing here is V and Flowers are up front, but Crip is just moving in front of mid. The tower is pushing to 26, and there are 2 people on right side. So like, I guess I'm saying all of this to say like, if Crip was already in their court, sort of where the sponge is, trying to pressure them as well, then this would be a bit safer because it would be a team fight of a 2v2 instead of a 1v2 with Flowers here. I think the positioning where you are Salty is pretty decent. It's still able to pressure top right, which is the main thing. Okay, I think popping Booyah here. Booyah here is okay to keep up momentum. But Crip, I think getting checkpoint here was important enough for you to get it. After that, you need to push it to 0. If Salty called out, I'm using Booyah Bomb, or like, I'm using Booyah, is a bit faster. Yeah, so if they called that out, then waiting for the Booyah Bomb before you push up, or like getting off of tower for a couple of seconds while the Booyah Bomb is charged, and then while the Booyah is going off, like actually exploding, then you push up with the Booyah Bomb. That's just a bit of a niche, like slightly delaying a push so that you can push in with a special. So I think that's another thing. If you're very close to a special, then you can say like, wait for my Booyah, or wait for my crab, is a common one that I use as splash a lot. Vantage point of tower is really nice. Stayed away up until now of fear. Okay, so Salty, I can definitely see that in solo queue. Because in solo, you're going to have like, no one's riding tower, so the shot's going to take it. No one's riding tower, I'll take it as the mini. I'll take it as the squelchers. No one's riding tower, so no one's in front of tower. So tower is very unsafe right now. I'm going to stay back as a Hydra. I think the beauty of playing on a team is you can trust your teammates to be doing what they should at a given moment. You can't really trust solo queue teammates for that, but you can trust that if you're on tower, in a better case scenario, you have Flowers will be up front with Ven and Crip. I forgot your name, so I had to wait for the Booyah to finish. I'm so sorry, but yeah, so I think being able to trust your teammates and stay on tower as a backline can be really good. I think that your positioning on second checkpoint here was still pretty good because the second checkpoint is very unsafe. a lot. And so I guess because the second checkpoint is unsafe, it's okay for the backline to get off tower while the mini takes tower here. You just have to call out if you're getting off tower and saying like, I don't know, something like flowers take tower, I'm getting off, or like I'm backing up, someone take tower. Do not worry about the punctuation. It's fine. I don't think I called BO there. I sometimes don't notice until my gauge is filled. So I'll pop it instantly. Okay, I think popping it as soon as you charged it there was good. One thing to note is look at the top right of the screen. I'm on Ven's perspective right now. The top right of the screen shows that they're very close to Inkzuka. And so that's another thing to sort of like keep in mind when playing the game. If you are able to look at the top right and see, okay, I'm close to my special, you don't have to take an engagement right away. You can just stay back and paint a little bit more to charge a special. I like backing up here. Well, I think the main thing with backing up here is the brush and pro were sort of separated, and you still have to push the tower to 0. So this is really your chance because they're like 2 down, they don't have that many specials coming out. So I think just taking the risk and taking the fights here is probably the best choice. But yeah, so to talk a bit more with Salty, holding like being able to see like I'm halfway to a special or I have my special is it's a good thing to mention. I know that I often call like if the team wants to push in with my crab tank when I'm playing Splash, for example, I call I'm halfway to crab. Or I'm close to crab. So I guess a few things here. I'm close to Bia. Let's push in with Bia. I'm using it on right. Would be a good like call to start a push. Or like I'm close to Wavebreaker. I'm using Wavebreaker on their chords. Or I'm Wavebreaking mid. Let's push with that. I'm close to bubble. Bubbling tower. Move in front of it. Or something like I'll use Singzuka on the leader to get that. Like, I guess having a game plan on what you're wanting to do with the special as well helps a lot. So things like Singzuka, it's very good with dealing with ranged opponents. So like a Hydra, like a Tri-Stringer, like a E-Leader. Getting them out of the game temporarily can help your team push up a lot. So being able to say like, I'm close to Trizuka, using it on the backline, even if they avoid you for all of the 3 shots, it still gets them out of position long enough to, for your team to push up, not having to worry about their range for just a couple of seconds. And those seconds can be very valuable. And so I think I've sort of like beaten around the bushes with yeah, this is definitely a game where special coordination and painting in disadvantage until you get specials to pop them at the same time, waiting for specials and using them together to get mid and get up front. I think on defense, specials are very important. On offense, when you all have gotten a pick or 2, it's really just pushing up together is the main thing. And I think like pushing up involves V and Crypt moving up instead of taking objective, and it involves probably Salty taking tower a bit more, and it involves Flowers doing a bit of both. Like if tower's a bit too unsafe for Salty to ride it, then you should ride it. But if it's safe enough for Salty to ride it, then you want to be in front of tower helping your teammates push. So one thing about Inkzuka it has a lot of range, but you can't paint around you when you're popping it. So if you want to Inkzuka, don't move up and then pop it. I think that just happened there. I think backing up a little bit and then Inkzukaing is pretty common. But like if you wanted to jump to your cost overtime. Oh yeah. I'm gonna watch it from here. Okay. We're watching this from overhead just to see like where everyone is when that happens. So you see Crip is swimming in. By the time you're all respawned, you can either jump to Ven or you can jump to Crip. Ven is pretty risky because for Ven right now, it's a 1v4. And as a splatter shot, they might be moving up even further to try to pick them off. Crip is going to be moving into mid, but no one's in mid right now, so I think Ven, or I think especially Salty, if someone's in mid and it's absolutely safe, jump. Otherwise, backline should probably be swimming in. Because you absolutely lose fights if you do not have a charge against most weapons. I think, one other thing is, if teammates are jumping to you, and you're in like a bit of an aggressive position, see if it's worth it to not push the enemy just yet and try to just make sure that they have a bit of pain around them. I see that Ven goes down a bit before the jumps actually happen or like finish jumping, and that's very bad. Just because like if you're not alive to help your teammates back up, then yeah, I think one thing, if you call a jump as safe, make sure you keep the jump safe because they can push up quickly. Yeah, right now it's a 1v4, so yeah. So there were only that was just one game, but I took a while with that. So schedule. Just going to see if there's anything in chat I missed. Okay. Yeah, I think playing together more, I guess by playing together I mean seeing when your teammates are moving up and moving with them, or like being able to call out, I'm moving up on left. Try to replay and watch matches. That's fair. Yeah, of course. And if you want to like schedule something else like this later, I'm down for that. If anyone just watching chat wants to, you can contact me at echo #7956 on Discord or at story echo _ on Twitter. But yeah, so I think the main things on that game were just in disadvantage, make sure you get special. In advantage, make sure that you're pushing up and getting space in front of tower. And I think holding specials and then calling when you're using them is a big thing. Sometimes like waiting to use a special until you have 3 ready can be pretty good if no team has a clear advantage. Yeah, so I'm going to take a quick BRB. Yeah, I'd be down to watch a live scrim at some point. I've done it with a few other teams before, so yeah. The VOD of this will be available soon enough. Should be on my YouTube. I'll send it to you all. And I'll be coaching Dago next, which will be a solo queue. a couple of games from them. So if you want to see just a bit of insight on like how to play solo with teammates, you can stick in chat if you want. But I will take a quick BRB.